What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode. I'm SwipaCam, and welcome to my channel. So, I just got done watching the Denver Nuggets playing against the Brooklyn Nets on May 8th, 2021, and the Brooklyn Nets came down with a win, 125 to 119, and everybody was scoring up until the fourth quarter. Now, when the first half started, I thought something special was about to be on for the rest of the game. Michael Porter Jr. came out, had 5 of 6 three-pointers, had 17 points in the first quarter. I'm like, man, this might be a 40-piece. This might be a 40-piece versus Kevin Durant. But like the rest of you all, I've seen this story before. Michael Porter Jr. starts off the game really well, 14 points, 15 points, 17 points, twice this season. Starts the game off hot, and then all of a sudden, like the Portland Trailblazers game, doesn't do much the rest of the game. Now, that's because of the way the defense kind of bodies them up, plays against them, but it's because also the way that the offense flows, they just tend to go away from them. The things that they were doing, the defense will adjust to it, and then they don't counter what the defense is doing, and then so the rest of the game, they're flat. And it was frustrating because the Nuggets were up 73 to 69 at the end of the first half. Now, if you remember the first time they played Brooklyn this year, they were up also again by double digits at half, but then the third quarter happened, and then that's all she wrote from there. That's all she wrote from there. They lost the game by 6, but the reason they lost is because the Denver Nuggets only scored 15 points. They only scored 15 points in the fourth quarter. The game was 104 to 97 Denver Nuggets going into the fourth quarter. The Denver Nuggets ended the game with 119 points, and then they scored 28 points. So it's interesting watching how all this is working, but let me be very clear about my position. It doesn't matter in the long run. It doesn't. And the reason it doesn't is not because you don't try to win. You don't compete every game. You need to compete. Do your best. But the thing about the Nuggets is, think about it. Let's run through it. They're missing Jamal Murray. They're missing Will Barton. They're missing Monte Morris. They're missing P.J. Dozier. They missed Paul Millsap, and Aaron Gordon was out tonight. That's 6 players. The Denver Nuggets are missing 6 players from the rotation. And so because of that, tonight JaMychal Green had to start, who did not play well. Facu Campazzo has been starting throughout the season, but again, he's up and down on his shooting. Austin Rivers, who we just signed 3 weeks ago, started tonight. Vlatko Cancar played tonight. Shaq Harrison played tonight. Marcus Howard played tonight. Bol played tonight. And JaVale McGee. Bol never would have played. Marcus Howard never would have played. Harrison wouldn't be on the team. Cancar definitely wouldn't have played. Austin Rivers wouldn't have played. 3 weeks ago, none of these people would have got any playing time. So that's 5 players that had no playing time less than a month ago when the Denver Nuggets were rolling right before they went into that Boston Celtics game, when the Denver Nuggets were looking like a juggernaut with Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic. We thought that was an NBA Finals preview. We thought that they were just rolling. They was going to take on anyone in the West and whoever came out the East. But the thing is, man, the Denver Nuggets don't got the dogs right now. And it's not because they're not trying. Even tonight, man, Nikola Jokic had 29 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists on 10 of 21 shooting. That's below his efficiency. 0 of 5 from 3. He's tired. 9 of 9 from the free throw line. That's cool. He was a +3. So in a game that he was a +3, and every single one of his teammates except for Cancar was a minus. He was the only starter that was a positive tonight. And even though MPJ played well, he was a -1. It wasn't crazy. But when you don't have point guards that are consistent threats and playmaking, can create their own shot and get to the basket. And this is what my Argentinian fans, I would like you to hear. It's not that Facu is not a good player. He's obviously playing well. Facu tonight had 19, 2 and 5 on 4 and 9, 3 of 6, and 8 of 8 from the free throw line. That's really good. And on top of that, he had 3 steals. He was putting pressure on Kyrie Irving, a whole bunch of stuff. He was doing a lot of good things out there, but here's the problem. Facu doesn't have the ability to create off the isolation, create off the dribble. He doesn't have the ability to be a real three-point threat. Now, he's hitting his threes, but defenses are going underneath screens. They're crowding Jokic because he's on the court. And so if he's on the block and Facu's up at the top of the key, they're coming down a couple feet further than they normally would because they're not concerned about him. If that's Jamal Murray, if that's Will Barton, If that's MPJ, that's a different story. But even when you have AG hasn't hit a three-pointer in the last 6 games with the Denver Nuggets. But even when AG was out there with Will Barton, Jamal Murray, and Michael Porter Jr., I mean, AG's on the dunker spot. That way you have 3 shooters over 38 and 39 and 40%. So basically 44%, 40%, and then 38, whatever Will Barton is shooting. You got those on the perimeter. You can't leave. That's why Jokic was killing. That's why his assists were up and his shooting was down. So, but when you don't have that, you take out, AG's out, you take out Will Barton, you take out Jamal Murray, you take out Monte Morris, take out the Cutter and PJ Dozier. You take out all those players, it changes the whole schematics of the floor. And so Jokic looks frustrated. He wasn't getting the foul calls he thought he should have got. He got hacked a few times towards the end of the game. He missed a bunny hook shot against Kevin Durant, similar to the one he had last January or 2 Januaries ago when they played against the Warriors for the shutdown. And he had that shot, I think it was to win the game, to tie the game. Might have been to tie the game with Draymond Green was guarding him. And then the same thing, that hook shot over that left shoulder, swag. And it's kind of the same thing again against that he had against the Dallas Mavericks last year as well before the shutdown. And I think it was Finney Smith. Yeah, I think it was Finney Smith who's guarding him, and he had that same shot. But right now, Jokic is just frustrated, man. And again, I think it's the legs. I think it's a lot of stuff. It's just people are let's say this, Jokic in particular has been carrying this team all season. But now he's having to carry this team all season without having capable slashing, two-way, or even just capable playmaking perimeter guards on the court with him. Because again, Facu is playing well, but just take Facu out the picture. Austin Rivers just got here. He doesn't know what he's doing. Shaq Harrison just got here. He doesn't know what he's doing. So Austin Rivers, for instance, Austin Rivers had a play where he looked at Jokic and then he ran off and then he threw the ball out of bounds. And Shaq Harrison, the same thing. Like, Shaq Harrison had that carrying penalty against the Utah Jazz last night. Like, there's just so much stuff that's happening, and it takes so much momentum out of the game. So unless Michael Porter Jr. is going off, unless Jokic is going off, they're having difficulty scoring. Even again tonight, Austin Rivers was 2 of 6 from 3, but when he made his first 3, that put him at 11-17 in the last couple of games, 11-17. So his shot's coming back, so he gives you a good threat out there. But honestly, man, it's just, this is where the limitations come in. As good as Jokic is, the limitations are he's still a big. Meaning he can get himself to the box, he can get himself down to the paint, he can get himself in the restricted area, he can run a 2-man game. But at the same time, the reason the 2-man game is so effective, because if you have Jamal Murray or Will Barton or Monte Morris running that 2-man game, that floater is there, the step back mid range is there, the step back 3 is there, and then on top of that, that pick and pop is wide open. So now even on the pick and pop, it's Facu. Facu's so small that they don't have to commit the same amount of effort even to stop him if he does roll. And again, Facu doesn't have a great floater, nor is he like a really lethal threat getting to the basket. So it's changing the way that even the 2-man game is being run. And so Austin Rivers also doesn't have that. He doesn't have that same kind of basketball IQ that Jamal Murray does. So it's just not the same level of efficiency. And then Michael Porter Jr., you saw at the end of the game, Michael Porter Jr. in a 2-man, he was supposed to get the ball to come off and shoot a 3. Michael Porter Jr. is going to get the handoff and he stops. And then that's when Green, the other Green that plays for the Brooklyn Nets, that's when he gets the ball, gets tied up. Next thing you know, it's a jump ball. So Michael Porter Jr. still is learning. But that's what I want people to understand. I know that we don't want to lose to the Jazz. I know you don't want to lose to the Brooklyn Nets. But the thing is, the reason these wins don't matter is because they're still in 4th place. They're likely going to be in 4th place. And all this does is keep them in 4th place. And they're likely going to play against either the Dallas Mavericks or against the Portland Trailblazers, and maybe very, 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 very slim chance against the Lakers. So they still have a good matchup. They home court advantage in the first round. That's all you can ask for at this point. Right now, unfortunately, man, they're just trying to survive. There's no other elite team. There's no other contending team that's had the injury luck they've had. No one. So they're literally just trying to learn how to swim with pieces that were not on the roster 3 weeks ago. And it's frustrating. It's not fun. But at the end of the day, man, Michael Porter Jr. is ascending. He's growing up. 28, 4, and 2 tonight. Again, 11 of 17, 6 of 10. He made 5 of those, though. in the first quarter. And then that essentially mean he was 1 of 4 the rest of the game. So, again, he had 2 steals as well. It's just a lot, man. It's just a lot. Like I said, you're relying on Chanchar. You're relying on Shaq Harrison. You're relying now on Marcus Howard for 13 points. You're relying on Bol, who doesn't know what he's doing. JaVale McGee hasn't looked great. And then now you're relying on Austin Rivers and Facu Campazzo. Like, it's just, that's a lot. And the only reason they're even in the situation and not at the bottom of the league, in the basement, not getting ready or playing for a play-in, is because Jokic is so good, because MPJ's been so good. But that's the only reason. So that's what I'm saying. Like, when Jamal Murray's in the game against Utah, okay, if MPJ gets cold, Jamal's right there. Because you ain't going to, one of those 3, they're going to be cooking. So then if you double one of them, then the other one's going to get off. So, like, they're always going to be in mode. When it's just 2 of you, and then Jokic is having issues, either getting fouls or he's tired, which he has the right to be, or he's frustrated, then now you can just load up and play really physical Michael Porter Jr. And Michael Porter Jr. doesn't know how to play physical back in the right way yet. He just is young. Like, it's a part of growing up. It's going to happen in the playoffs real soon. Michael Porter Jr., from this point through the end of the playoffs, however far the Denver Nuggets make it, is going to grow tremendously because he's going to be the number 2 option, sometimes the number 1 option on offense. And he's going to get the treatment. He's going to get all the banging. He's going to get all the non-calls. He's going to get all the physical play, all of it. Everything that Jamal Murray had to learn about, everything he went through the first playoffs against the Spurs, against Portland, he's going to go through it this time. Even though he learned last year, he was never the threat, like the threat. It was always Jokic. It was always Maul. Now it's him and this Jokic. So we're going to see what they do. The Denver Nuggets right now, again, just bad third quarter defense. Scored 15 points in the fourth quarter. The Denver Nuggets right now are a game and a half out of the third place, but they are 4.5 games above the Mavericks right now. So all they have to do is win one more game, and they get the 4th spot, or home court advantage. So they just need to win one more game. They got the Hornets coming up here soon. Again, this is the part of the season where we're looking at Jokic resting, MPJ resting, just for precaution, really. Because, again, I don't know who else has gone through these injuries like they have, but they play against the Charlotte Hornets on Tuesday, early game, 5 o'clock in Denver. They play against the Charlotte Hornets on Tuesday with LaMelo Ball. Then they got the Minnesota Timberwolves on Thursday, and then Friday another back-to-back against Detroit. And then on Sunday they got Portland to end the season. So we'll see. I can see that if they already got that 4th spot secured, they already know who they're playing. Oh, I can 1,000% see them sitting that Friday and Sunday, that especially if there's a chance for Portland to move into the 5th spot, they sitting everybody. So anyway, y'all, that's going to do it. Swipe a gang. Hit me up on Twitter at SwipaCam. I'll see y'all soon.